We're going to go on to Alma chapter 28.
And now it came to pass that after the people of Ammon were established in the land of Jershon, and a church also established in the land of Jershon, and the armies of the Nephites were set round about the land of Jershon, yea, and all the borders round about the land of Zarahemla, behold, the armies of the Lamanites had followed their brethren into the wilderness. And thus there was a tremendous battle, yea, even such an one as never had been known among all the people in the land from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Yea, and tens of thousands of the Lamanites were slain and scattered abroad. Yea, and also there was a tremendous slaughter among the people of Nephi. Nevertheless, the Lamanites were driven and scattered, and the people of Nephi returned again to their land.
So, although we described that the people of Ammon, as they're called now, were going to live in a peaceful way. They had their own city, but see, the place where they were coming from, they followed them, right? They followed the group there, and so they knew where they were. And so, as you can see described here in the first 3 verses, says a great battle ensued. And in fact, it says it was never won in all the time since Lehi left Jerusalem. So really, up to this point, it's the biggest one ever, the worst one ever. Let's say tens of thousands of the Lamanites were slain, right? And I'm sure many of the people of Nephi as well, right? But I guess they were considered the victorious ones because they're numbering the tens of thousands dead of the Lamanites, and so eventually they went back to where they came from. But yeah, they were really motivated, right, to fight this war, and so they came and fought, and this is what happened.
Now this was a time that there was a great mourning and lamentation heard throughout all the land, among all the people of Nephi. Yea, the cry of widows mourning for their husbands, and also of fathers mourning for their sons, and the daughter for the brother, yea, the brother for the father. And thus the cry of mourning was heard among all of them, mourning for their kindred who had been slain. And now surely this was a sorrowful day, yea, a time of solemnity, and a time of much fasting and prayer. And thus endeth the 15th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi.
Right, so just describing the aftermath of this kind of a war, and we can appreciate the type of mourning that goes on when somebody dies. We've experienced that here certainly, and so now imagine all these different families affected that way. That many families lost people, whether it was a father, a brother, or a husband, whoever it was. That probably just about every family was affected in some way by this. That's why it refers to it as a time of solemnity, right? That they were all just kind of mourning together when it happened, and saying, well, this is the outcome of this war. I mean, we're happy that we won, but yet we're certainly sad that so many of our loved ones have passed on. And so now it's keeping the time frame here. This is now the end of the 15th year of the reign of the judges. So it's only been 15 years since they started in this mode, but certainly a lot has happened during that time. Top of the page now, it's 76 BC, right? It's counting down from 91, so 91 minus 15, we're now at 76 BC at this point.
And this is the account of Ammon and his brethren, their journeyings in the land of Nephi, their sufferings in the land, their sorrows and their afflictions, and their incomprehensible joy, and the reception and safety of the brethren in the land of Jershon. And now may the Lord, the Redeemer of all men, bless their souls forever. And this is the account of the wars and contentions among the Nephites, and also the wars between the Nephites and the Lamanites. And the 15th year of the reign of the judges is ended. And from the 1st year to the 15th has brought to pass the destruction of many thousand lives. Yea, it has brought to pass an awful scene of bloodshed.
The writing is going on here is kind of wrapping up this episode, if you will. Right? It started out with Alma going one way and the 4 sons of Mosiah going a different way. So we've read the story of Alma. Now we're reading the account of Ammon, that going amongst the Lamanites, all who were converted, were brought back to the land of Zarahemla. And so unfortunately, it ended in a terrible war. That way, where a lot of people were killed, but yet they were victorious, and they did have success in going among the Lamanite people. So that's why in 8 you can see it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions there. It says their sufferings and their afflictions, but their incomprehensible joy and so forth. So there was times of sadness, but there was times of joy. That they're joyful over the success of the work of God, but of course sad that a lot of people were killed. Right, and so as it kind of repeats that it's the end of the 15th year, and it's just remarking, kind of as I did a minute ago, that in just 15 years a lot has happened. This is from the 1st year to the 15th year, many lives have been lost, and so it's an awful scene of bloodshed. right? So just in a short period of time of 15 years, quite a lot has happened. So the whole kind of landscape has changed. You know, if you think back to the beginning of the 15-year period, back to when the reign of the judges started, you know, it was very two distinct lands, right? There was, you know, where the Nephites lived, and where the Lamanites lived, right? So we were here, they were there, and you know, so and never the twain shall meet. So you know, they were just living separately that way. The Lamanites were still in their state of hate towards the Nephites, and so you can see now a lot has changed now that Ammon and the others went amongst them, that they have a knowledge of the truth. They men and them decided the right way, and now they've come down and joined in with the Nephite people, and now, but you know, it's resulting war. So really, a lot has changed in this 15-year period. So you know, you see when you set your nose to the grindstone, so to speak, when you want to do the work, things can happen, and you know, that's what we all seek to do if we try to accomplish something for God, is that we make a difference in some way.
And the bodies of many thousands are laid low in the earth, while the bodies of many thousands are moldering in heaps upon the face of the earth. Yea, and many thousands are mourning for the loss of their kindred, because they have reason to fear, according to the promises of the Lord, that they are consigned to a state of endless woe. While many thousands of others truly mourn for the loss of their kindred, yet they rejoice and exult in the hope, and even know, according to the promises of the Lord, that they are raised to dwell at the right hand of God in a state of never-ending happiness.
Now, these are two verses which start out the same, but they say different things. Right? So they both start out as many thousands are killed, many thousands are mourning, but what's the difference between the two verses? You know, it's a tragedy for either group of people, you know, to have lost so many people that were killed, right? But yet in 11, which was one referring to the Lamanite people, it says, all right, there's been thousands lost, it says, but they have reason to fear, according to the promise of the Lord, that they're consigned to a state of endless woe. All right, so not only are people killed, but I mean, we have no reason to believe that anything good is coming in the next life either, if we haven't given our life to the Lord. So it's compounding that tragedy with an eternal tragedy. Right? But then you look at 12, which is the state of the Nephite people. It says that while many thousands mourn for the loss, their kindred, they rejoice and exult in the hope and knowing, according to the promise of God, that they're raised to the right hand of God, right, for a state of never-ending happiness. So, you know, so it's a silver lining to that, and that's, you know, we take comfort the same way today when somebody who's from the family of God dies. I mean, we're still sad and we miss them from here, but at least we take comfort in knowing that now they're in a better place. Now they're with God, and so they can look forward to an eternity of happiness. So it's just in contrasting the reactions of the different groups of people depending on their position with God.
And thus we see how great the inequality of man is because of sin and transgression, and the power of the devil, which comes by the cunning plans which he hath devised to ensnare the hearts of men. And thus we see the great call of diligence of men to labor in the vineyard of the Lord, and thus we see the great reason of sorrow, and also of rejoicing, sorrow because of death and destruction among men, and joy because of the light of Christ unto life.
In the 13, it's saying, thus we see how great the inequality of man is. 11 and 12, it contrasted the difference between the Nephites and the Lamanites in terms of who was prepared to meet God. And so that's true. You know, that is an unequal state, right? Not an unfair state, but an unequal state, because, you know, some are prepared to lead this life and some are not. So that's really what it's saying. Thus we see that because of sin, as it says, sin and transgression, the power of the devil, there is an inequality among the people, that some are with God and some are not. And so that's why it behooves us that we would want to be on the good side of that we want to be on the side of being in a good state with God. The snare of the devil puts people in that unequal or unequal state. And then finally in 14, it's just saying that you know, they're remarking one more time on how people who were motivated to do the work of God made a difference. Right? We see the great call of diligence of men to labor in the vineyard, right? And so we see the difference that they made in the lives of these people, that they brought them from one side of the equation to the other, because all these people of Ammon we're talking about were on the other side before. If they had been in the war then, they would have had no place to look forward to going, but now due to the work of Ammon and others being used by God, they've crossed over to the other side, and now they're prepared and able to look death in the face and say, well, it's okay, because we know where we're going from here.